podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for All About Android is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by lynda.com. Learn what you want, when you want, with access to over 2,000 high-quality online courses and training videos, all for one low monthly price. To try it free for 7 days, visit lynda.com/allaboutandroid. That's LYNDA.com/allaboutandroid. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, or other Apple products are worth at Gazelle.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of All About Android, episode 146, recorded on Tuesday, January 28th, 2014. We are your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Gina Trapani.
AAA team, assemble and unite. And we welcome to the show today someone I've been wanting to get on for quite a while now, Taylor Wimberly, mobile consultant. Also, you can find him all over Google+. I see your posts on Google+ all the time. I really like your work.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here. You actually kind of created Android in Me back in its inception, right?
Yeah, that was, that was like 5 years ago. Before, I guess, when the first Android phone came out, there really weren't a whole lot of sites out there dedicated to Android. So at the time, I just made one. I didn't find a site that I liked. Here we are 5 years later, though. I mean, there's a million different Android blogs. I've actually moved on from that. That's something I no longer do, but it was a great ride while I did it and had a great time.
Absolutely. I mean, from the time that you started it, launching it with the first Android device, like that tells you just how much has changed since then. I mean, it's night and day, basically, what Android was then versus what it is now.
Oh yeah, I mean totally. When I got the first G1, I kind of thought like, oh, this is the next big thing, but to really imagine, that we'd be at like 1 billion plus devices, a couple of years later, yeah, it still blows my mind.
Absolutely, completely agree.
It's crazy.
Well, it's great to have you on board today, Taylor. Thank you for joining us. We've got a lot to talk about, of course, as we usually do. Even when we don't, we find stuff to talk about. Samsung and Google's patent partnership. That's right. We're going to talk a little bit about patents, but I think
it's been too long.
I know,
I know. It's a new year. There are new patent arguments to go through. I'm for it. Let's do it.
And Ron, I know that you're wondering. I'll go ahead and read about the patent thing because apparently patents are my thing.
I know you like it. It's patent beat.
Google Glass now has frames. We're going to get into those and show those off. That's very interesting. Amazon has living room ambitions and so much more. But let's waste no more time. Let's get right to the news. It's the hottest thing. Patents these days, they're just awesome. So let's talk about them right at the top of the show. Google and Samsung have entered into a patent cross-licensing deal. This covers both existing patents that they have as well as any patents that are filed over the course of the next 10 years. The extent of that coverage isn't necessarily known, but the public statement did mention that the deal covers many product categories and not just mobile, so it's pretty interesting. Samsung and Google share their patent portfolio. On one hand, patent protection in the mobile space, obviously is very important. We keep kind of seeing these patent things come up time and time again, thanks to patent trolls like Rockstar and entities of that sort. On the other hand, making the biggies in the industry, and Google and Samsung are very big in the Android industry, obviously, even bigger might limit the capabilities of newcomers to the market that don't have that kind of access to the piece of the pie. What do you guys think about this? Taylor, we'll start with you.
I thought this was a pretty significant announcement. Google and Samsung, they both have kind of helped each other get to the position where they're at right now. But there's kind of been this narrative growing over the last year that, Google and Samsung are eventually going to, go to war with each other, kind of how Apple and Google used to be buddy-buddy, and then they went to the courts. So yeah, I kind of see this, it's kind of like a truce between these two companies. I think it's good for consumers. Hopefully, less lawsuits, less blog posts about patents and stuff like that. This kind of surprised me. I kind of felt like, Samsung's been talking more and more about their Tizen operating system, and there's all these rumors that devices are coming out this year. So to see them kind of sign this cross-licensing agreement, I think it's a really big deal. How is that going to affect all of the other smaller players? I don't really know. I think this is more of kind of a defensive move. I don't really see them using these patents to go after these other companies. So I kind of think, like, as long as you're supporting Google or you're supporting Android, and you're in the circle, you're in the family. This is a move I think that's going to protect them from both Apple and then all the other patent trolls that are floating around out there.
Yeah, right.
Well, my first thing when I thought about this was how much of this is about Google and Samsung coming together to team up versus Google and Samsung protecting themselves and teaming up versus Apple.
Yeah.
Because you've got the history of Apple and Samsung, not really getting along and that whole big thing. And so Samsung and Google kind of buddying up, going, okay, well, if we're on the same basis and we can cross-license our patents and work with each other, then if that happens again, then we're kind of a collective unit that can work against it. I think it's much more about them reacting and setting themselves up against Apple and their patents. Mm-hmm. That's just me. I'm not a patent expert, though. So
yeah, that definitely occurred to me too. It did feel like them just kind of teaming up. But the thing that strikes me about this is that not only does this cover existing patents, but patents for the next 10 years.
I know.
Crazy.
10 years is an eternity, particularly in the mobile space, right? So this is Google and Samsung saying, we're both going to be innovating on either side, right? Let's focus on mobile just for the sake of the show, and we're going to cross license with one another. I mean, that's a big that's a big deal. 10 years is a really long time, and to say future patents. Now, I don't know if it's all future patents, if it's just like on a case by case basis or what. But it feels like this is definitely a good thing for consumers, because it means that when Samsung comes up with a little UI thing or UX thing or a little bit of technology, it doesn't mean that others can't have it. We only have to root in order to install the thing. It means that they can share and they can innovate and they can spur one another on and collaborate and cooperate versus not, which is and it's just a huge marketing win, I think, for developers, particularly developers in the open source world, which Android developers are, who are sick and tired of patent wars and just hate the whole thing. This makes Samsung and Google look really good, look like they want to cooperate and collaborate and innovate versus sue one another.
Yeah, I was going to say it does make a step towards innovation in the market between these two. Where if Samsung does something, then they kind of are already working with Google. They can share in it. They can collectively make the platform better. But Taylor made a great point though. If I'm young startup Android platform phone company that hasn't started yet, can I innovate, or do I just have this big two now that I need to worry about patent threats from?
Yeah, and I also kind of wonder if who else ends up in this fold. If Google and Samsung, that's really big. Google has reached out to help HTC. If you remember, a couple of years ago, they had kind of an issue, a patent squabble with Apple. I mean, who hasn't had a patent squabble with Apple? But
you don't want to hear about my patent squabble with Apple.
Ron, you had one with Apple. That was scary.
I'm still paying the legal fees for that one.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. I don't want you to get in any more trouble. But Google is obviously interested in helping out its partners, because that's good for the platform in general. So is this Samsung also making a deal with Motorola then? Because this is where it kind of gets murky, at least in my head, where Motorola is not Google. So, they are not one and the same, but they kind of are. And so I don't know how this affects Motorola. And Motorola and Samsung are, in fact, direct competitors. So it's kind of an interesting, blurry field. I don't know the answer to that, but...
Yeah, the Motorola point is actually a really good one. That hadn't occurred to me. Let's be clear. Motorola is a Google company. It's right. Google, right? Mm-hmm. So this does extend to Motorola, which makes it seem like even more kind of incredible that Samsung agreed to that.
10 years.
That these companies all were able to agree to this, particularly for 10 years.
10 years.
I'm more surprised by the announcement that Motorola is making tomorrow for the new Motorola Note. So
Wait a minute, where did you hear this?
no, I'm kidding. I'm
Some
joking. No,
Russian
but you're
blogger.
right. I mean, where does the line end? You know, where are the boundaries on these patents go, and how does Motorola play into it? So fascinating.
I also wonder if this is kind of a signal for, some future collaboration on some more devices. It's kind of been a while since they've done anything together. They did the Nexus devices a couple of years ago, and I know Samsung's done a Chromebook and some other things, but I wonder if they're going to continue to launch new devices, whether that's the rumored glasses or other wearables or whatever else is down the pipeline. I'm really curious what's going to happen, because as much as we see them say they're buddy in public, and now they have this legal agreement, that they're not going to sue the pants off each other, but I mean they're still they still are becoming competitors. We've always looked at Google as a software company, but with the acquisition of Motorola and Nest and all these other things, I mean, they are increasingly getting into the hardware
They are
space.
firmly in the hardware space. Yeah.
Oh, they are absolutely
Firmly.
a consumer electronics company now. They are not just a software company. Yeah.
Whereas Samsung, I mean, they've always been a hardware company, but they are more and more and more getting into that software space. Not just developing their own operating system through Tizen, but really focusing on their own. They have their own app store on all the Galaxy phones, and I mean, if you look at a Galaxy phone, they have a companion, not a companion, but like a duplicate app of everything that Google does.
Oh yeah.
So Samsung is well prepared, I don't know what they're going to do, but I mean, they have definitely been working on the software and content services, all that stuff.
The Tizen aspect too is very interesting in regards to this, because if they are sharing their patents, then and Tizen, let's say, is Samsung's kind of answer to like Samsung's internal Android, like trying to make their own operating system, they can still use those patents on Tizen
And Tizen,
against
there's certain
Google.
technologies.
Yeah. Brain explodes.
Interesting.
So yeah, very, very interesting. It'll be interesting to see exactly how those patents are used. Thank you for illustrating the exploding brain, Brian. I'm sorry there was no sound effect, but that's okay. So let's see here. Now, what about the Nexus line of devices, Gina?
Yeah, speaking of Google being a hardware company, could the Nexus line of devices go away in 2015? That's what Russian blogger Eldar Murtazin, Eldar, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. That's what he had to say on Twitter. His sources say to expect 2 to 3 more Nexus devices before year end, and then a complete discontinuation of the Nexus brand to be rebranded as Play Edition devices instead. Murtazin's success rate with rumors has been mixed so far, but I don't know. This is kind of interesting discussion. Like, why would Google can the Nexus line? First, I gotta tell you, this is breaking my heart. When I saw this story this week, I was like, whoa, because I've been a Nexus person, really kind of from the beginning. Nexus 1. I think the Nexus 5 is the only one that I don't have. But I mean, I don't know. Well, let me put it to you guys. Why would Google kill the Nexus line in favor of the Play Edition devices? I mean, the Nexus line has always been their reference device for Android. Like when they changed the Android buttons, when they took away the search button, to me as a developer, at least, I always looked at the Nexus devices as this is what Google's vision of what the hardware for Android, ideal hardware for Android should be. That's just not the case with other. I've got an HTC One Play Edition. It's a great phone, but the buttons are a little different than how they are on the Nexus 5. So I don't know why. I don't want to see the Nexus line die. What do you guys think?
What are you holding on to? Are you just holding on to a brand? Just the name? What does it matter?
I like the idea. So I always saw Google as the steward of Android, which is why I always prefer to run pure Android, because I think Google develops Android and has its hooks in Android and has a history with Android longer than any other company.
Sure.
So I've always been pure Android. And to me, the Nexus line of devices is the pure Android hardware. Like to me, it's like that's
if they're calling the Nexus line of hardware a Play Edition, what's the difference? It's just what it's called.
My impression of the Play Editions is like these are phones that other manufacturers have put out there, whether that's Motorola, which is of course a Google company, or Samsung or HTC or whatever, that just run pure Android on top of them. Like Nexus devices in my head, correct me if I'm wrong, are sort of developed for the new version of Android. So the hardware support for all the new functionality in Android, whereas Google Play devices are just sort of like devices retrofitted back into the pure Android experience. So it doesn't feel like, the purest Google phone. You can tell me if I'm being way too much of a Google fan purist.
And I'm just playing devil's advocate a little bit. I think you're just putting a lot into a name. I think then the Nexus 5 is great, but it's just a phone running stock Android, and really, if you gave me a Galaxy S4, there's really no difference if it's the Play Edition running stock Android or not. I mean, they might have designed that version of the operating system for that phone, but ideally, it should work on any phone that is wiped and installed from a clean.
But like I think was it Page that was on stage at Google I/O and he talked about sensors, about how our device could have all these new sensors and they could do all this new stuff for us, right? So they're building new capabilities in Android to use these new sensors, and I feel like the Nexus line, if Google is developing it in line as a reference device, is Google's opportunity to issue the device with the sensors that work perfectly with the new capabilities in Android. So whereas the Google Play Edition devices are like devices that other manufacturers have made, and some of the sensors work and some of them don't. Like HTC One Beats audio didn't work. The IR thing didn't work because it was sort of like the pure Android thing was grafted onto this existing hardware. I may be being crazy. You can let me know.
I agree with you, Gina. I think that's exactly it. The Play Edition devices are all about whatever hardware happens to be out there, also being a pure vanilla Android OS experience. The Nexus device, not only is it the fact that it's reference hardware that contains all the sensors and everything that Google wants to illustrate to other, potential manufacturers of similar devices why these things are important and why the services tie into it, but also it's a pretty darn inexpensive phone for anybody that wants to get into developing. And I mean, for $300 for a Nexus 5, versus the Google Play Edition devices that are all, I believe, unlocked. They're going for around $600 or more. Like, that's a huge difference too. I guess the question is, does Google get to a point where it doesn't behoove them to basically not make any money on these devices? Because I doubt they're making any money on these Nexus devices when they're selling them slow.
But you're really and I want to hear what Taylor has to say about this, and I realize that we've been kind of going at it, but you're really underestimating the point that you just made about Samsung and Google, which is, what about Motorola? Does Motorola become the reference device?
Right. Well, that's the question, right? And that's definitely a possibility. And I do have some brands. I do have some love for the Nexus brand. Which I totally respect. And I'm just busting your chops because for me it's like they can call it blue. They can call it whatever they want to call it, as long as it works. I don't care what they call it. Like I don't
see them as the same thing as
I don't know.
They are different. I don't know. Yeah. Taylor, what do you think about this?
I kind of have mixed feelings on this because I have been a fan of the Nexus devices. I mean, I've bought every one that comes out. I use the Nexus 5 as my daily phone. But, I kind of believe that this rumor might be true. Last year I leaked a bunch of Motorola stuff, and someone that was giving me some very, trustworthy information told me that Motorola was going to make a Nexus phone and it was going to come out in Q4, and that, of course, didn't happen. But Motorola did go ahead and release this Motorola G as a Google Play edition. So I think we're going to kind of see. I don't know whether it'll be called Google Play or Blue, like Ron says, or whatever it is. But I kind of think the Google Play edition program is kind of an evolution of what Nexus set out to be from the beginning. And I think the reason they might do away with Nexus is, to use some Android language, there's still some, at least in the consumer side, or maybe it's the enthusiast point of view, there's still kind of some fragmentation between the Nexus brand and what that represents, and what the Google Play brand or Google Play Edition brand and what that represents. So I kind of see them moving to a new thing, but it's still going to be the same kind of like core values that we all liked about Nexus, which is, you're not buying the device from the carrier, you're buying it online. And the device is going to be unlocked. You're still going to get this pure Google experience. And then hopefully, this is up for whatever. I mean, I guess this is up to the OEM, but the third thing is you're going to get an affordable device. And I know not all of the Google Play Edition devices, we might consider them affordable. Like if you look at the Sony Z Ultra or the One or the GS4, they're still priced above $600. But I mean, we do start to have more options with the Moto G, and I think really what this is doing is we're no longer putting the Nexus up on a pedestal. This is evolving where any OEM, if they want to, they now have the option that they don't have to bow down to the carriers and do what the carriers want. There is this new option, and it's the Google Play Store. Well, I guess they do have to bend to Google's rules, but it's just a more open channel, a more open, direct distribution model for the consumers. And I think if we, whether the carriers like it or not, if we cut out the carrier from selling the device, I think, device prices will come down, software updates, will be accelerated, and then consumers are just going to have more choice of devices. So, who knows if this rumor actually comes true, but I could definitely, see it happening.
Yeah. I just, Jason, to your point, I don't want to see the $350 unlock phone option go away. So I'm hoping that whatever magic they've done with the Nexus phone applies to Motorola or these Play Editions or whatever, because I think that's amazing.
Google has so much else going on that they're making money from, that they can afford to sell these phones at or below cost. And expecting another manufacturer to do that is a lot to expect.
But LG is doing it. I mean, it's an LG phone. It's not a Google phone. I mean, yes, Google subsidized it, but so why couldn't they just do that with the Motorola phones?
Yeah, that's true.
It's not just LG though. I mean, you look at all the other brands. I mean, they're not as prominent, but Huawei, ZTE, Asus, Acer.
Yeah.
Tons of these OEMs are selling devices that are below that $300 price point. And it used to be a couple years ago, these phones were kind of you get what you pay for. They're crap. But if you look at the stuff that's coming out in 2014, I mean, you get LTE, you have the high resolution display.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's really changing, and I don't know. As a consumer, I think it's a win-win for us.
Absolutely. So, Ron, there is an email from last week. It was a very contentious point that we pointed out.
I love it when we stumble into the fire. I got a bunch of things on Twitter and stuff like this about this very topic, so I'm glad this email's in here. Ryan from Edmonton, not Edmonton, like it says in the thing. Or maybe he's from Edmonton. I don't know. Is there a place called Edmonton?
Sure.
I'm gonna go with Edmonton. Ryan writes and says, just listen to you guys stumbling about wondering why anyone would want local voicemail. I've been wanting this feature for a long time, since up here in Canada we don't get free voicemail and no access to Google Voice. Voicemail is an extra $7 a month, and I've never needed it badly enough to fork out the extra cash. If we can get local voicemail, that would be amazing. I gotta say, as somebody whose voicemail message is, hey, please don't leave me a message, send me a text message or an email, I don't know why you want this at all. Maybe that's just me, but that's to each their own, I guess, right?
Yeah, and Ryan, just to correct you, it's not local voicemail, it's local answering machine.
Thank you.
There's a difference, although there really isn't, except the name, but still. You got to be okay with the fact that you're using an answering machine still.
If there's some way to connect our cell phones to an answering machine for free, then that'd be great.
They need to make a case for cell phones that actually looks like an old school answering machine. So you would just like...
With the dials that you turn to rewind and stuff. Oh God, those are great. Man, I hate voicemail. If we just got rid of it, I would be fine with it. I'm totally okay with just. We live in such a text-based messaging world now. I'm not even saying text messages, but like email and things like that. I do not need a voicemail.
Yeah, and I mean, I have Google Voice, and so I have all of my voicemail routing through Google Voice, and it gives you the transcript and everything. I appreciate what you're trying to do, Google, but you got a long way to go. Yeah, I wish I could rely on that is all I'm saying, and I absolutely cannot.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, it really is.
It's good enough for getting the gist, but that's about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mom's
And a whole lot
calling
of
me about
unintentional
cats.
hilarity.
I don't know. Yes.
Let's take a quick break and thank our first sponsor for today's episode, lynda.com. Linda's been with us for a few weeks now, and I think it's just perfectly fit for the show because we have a lot of developers and budding developers, people who don't know how to develop for Android. And Lynda is an online learning company devoted to teaching people like yourself, potentially, how to be creative, how to use the software that you need to get the business skills to achieve your personal, your professional goals. And it's lynda.com. You can get a subscription. And if you do that, members receive unlimited access to their library. It's a huge library of engaging video tutorials, really well produced, well shot. And they just cover a ton of subjects, everything from creative and software skills, business negotiation, app development. With lynda.com, you're going to learn how to code, create, and build Android applications in Java, from the foundations of object-oriented Java programming to using the Android API to create engaging mobile apps. You can learn to develop apps for today's popular desktop and mobile platforms, build web apps, in fact, with .NET, .php, MySQL, and improve your language skills with JavaScript, Ruby, C, C++, R, and so much more. I've talked about it, in the past, and there's an unlimited number of audio and music production courses that I'm just having a great time watching. Skipping through, especially with we're moving into a new house and I'm setting up my studio there. So there's all of these kind of walkthroughs on how to set up my acoustics in the room with some of the sound panels that I purchased. And that's just information that I guess I could find online by poking around, but it's just better to see and hear someone who really knows their stuff give me the walkthrough. It's pretty great. You can improve your skills. You can learn all of that software, keep up with technology. They have over 2,000 courses, and new courses are added daily. And Android developers can find a number of tutorials that are specific to developing for the platform, including foundations of programming, Android app development with Java Essential Training, Android SDK Essential Training, up and running with Java applications, building and monetizing game apps for Android. It covers the gamut, and they go into great detail. These instructors, they're actually working professionals, and they're at the top of their fields, and they're just excellent teachers. They know how to get the point across and teach you what you need to know, and it's super high quality produced. It's curated course content. They're very structured, so you can learn start to finish, or if you want to just jump to a specific chapter, you can do that. Their transcripts are completely searchable, so you can go in there and do a search for a keyword that's going to take you to a specific point in the video, just jump you right to that point, and you can watch about that particular thing, learn about the thing that you're curious about right now if you don't want to sit through the entire course. All experience levels are covered: beginner, intermediate, advanced. And you can watch from any device that you have: computer, tablet, mobile device. You can pick up where you left off on one device to the other. They just make it super easy for you to learn, and that's what it's all about. It's only $25 a month for access to the entire lynda.com course library, or for $37.50 a month, you can subscribe to the premium plan, which includes exercise files that let you follow along with the instructors using the same project assets that they do. Really valuable. You can try lynda.com right now if you're interested. If this sounds good to you, you can actually try it for free for 7 days. It's a 7-day free trial. Visit lynda.com/allaboutandroid. You can access the entire library, and that's over 2,000 courses, like I said, for free for 7 days. That's lynda.com, lynda.com/allaboutandroid. And we thank Lynda for their continuing support of All About Android and the Twit Network. All right, Ron, I hope you're ready for this. Let's jump into hardware.
I'm excited. That's so pretty. There's no glitch. It's really nice.
I know. No more glitch in there, too. It's all good. Gina, Amazon, continuing the trend.
Amazon is set to launch a set-top box this year for under $300, according to VG247.com's multiple sources. This would bring Amazon's video on demand service as well as gaming to the living room through Amazon's own hardware. The Amazon set-top box reportedly is being designed with Labs 126, and who designed Amazon's Kindle offerings. And with 10 million Amazon Prime subscribers and over 200 million users on Amazon as a whole, this could be a pretty big deal. So does Amazon benefit more from locking down their streaming content away from Android devices and into their own? I mean, they didn't really do this with books or music, but it does seem like Amazon streaming content is not so general Android friendly.
I know. That's exactly what I wonder. Like, is it like, I understand obviously Kindle's very successful for kind of getting their content, their specific content into obviously avid Amazon users, but all of their other content is pretty easily accessible from any Android device. When it comes to the video, it's not. They really lock you into their devices, and a set-top box would be no different. I don't know. What do you think is better for Amazon? Is this a good strategy, Taylor?
When I hear that $300 price point, I just think flop. If that's the actual price point. Mm-hmm. Maybe if they say under 30, I think this could be successful. But 300, I mean, no way. I mean, that's ridiculous. Amazon, I know they're starting to get into exclusive content. And there's some new shows on Amazon Prime, but they're nowhere near being able to compete with the likes of Netflix or others that have some real exclusive hit shows. Like all the awards that Netflix has won for House of Cards and some of their other shows. But I mean, no one is going to pay $300 for a set-top box. We saw this with Google TV when they tried. With the Nexus Q and then the Logitech Review and device after device, even when they were selling for $99, nobody was buying them. The first thing that has really been a win for Google with the, so-called Smart TV, Connected TV has been Chromecast, and that's really been because of the price point. I just don't see any way Amazon is gonna get people to pay $300 to access their content. I know that this is saying, it's going to be more than just movies and whatever. There might be some games on there, but I mean, you really think there's going to be a lot of game developers that are going to be, maybe they're going to be making exclusive games for the Fire TV or whatever they call it, but I don't see it. I mean, $300, no way that will ever work.
It's a really good point, actually, and I hadn't considered that. That Amazon, just in general, with their device strategy, has been lower cost devices. $300 in the current landscape of set-top boxes, when you're talking about the Roku, the Apple TV, many of the Google TVs, and particularly the Chromecast, which is wins them all. I mean, they're so much lower than that. Like, that actually makes this sound not very likely, because I wouldn't imagine Amazon going against their own history when it comes to their own hardware and pricing it so much higher than everybody else.
Let's not gloss over the point that the article says that we're told it will be priced below $300.
All right.
It doesn't say how far below $300.
Yeah, very fair enough.
I mean, that could mean $299. That could mean $99. Who knows? The other thing is that maybe it's $300 with a year Prime membership, which costs $79. There might, who knows how they're going to slice it up. Yeah. But I mean, I agree with Taylor that if it is $299, it better hologram project the video into my living room or do my taxes for me or some amazing thing that I've never seen before. But at that high of a price, it's got to do something really crazy and amazing. But that said, this is the one thing I wish I had predicted last year when we were predicting for 2014, because it makes total sense that they would be doing it. Yeah. I'm just surprised it's not $99. So
yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting how the Chromecast really upended the whole pricing scheme. I wish that Amazon took the same approach to their video streaming as they did with Kindle, which is you can read your Kindle stuff everywhere. And even though that they have, dedicated Kindle hardware, you can still read your Kindle stuff everywhere. I would use Amazon streaming video so much more if I could easily cast it, if I could get it, where I want, if it wasn't a janky experience on my various Android devices. That aren't running Fire OS. It's a weird approach for them. But I don't know. It does seem like they would absolutely bundle it though with a Prime membership. You know, if you buy a Kindle and you get the Amazon set-top box for, you know, an extra $50 or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, because they are sort of the king of bundles.
You know, Beanboy89 makes a really good point in the chat room. The Chromecast is priced under $300.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, right. And that's what Ron was saying. Yeah, no,
Yep.
Ron is absolutely right. It's true.
And that said, when the blogger writes under $300, that's normally our signal for $299.
Yeah, or somewhere in the 200s. Yeah,
But you never know. You never know.
I suppose so.
Yeah, regardless of price, I mean, well, maybe it's two questions, but you know, at what price point would you actually be willing to buy another device to hook up to your TV?
Yeah.
And then, in addition to that, like, what content or services would Amazon have to offer to actually make you want to spend this money and go do this? I mean, when it comes to video, you know, I already have Netflix, and there's so many other video services out there, from Hulu to whatever else is out there. I mean, what are they gonna do that's actually gonna make you want to buy this?
And that's a great point. I'll tell you what, it sure as hell isn't that show betas. If you watch that show, is that show a hot mess?
Yeah, they're not quite as successful as Netflix in their own
It's
homegrown
no House
content.
of Cards, Orange is
Yeah.
the New Black. Yeah, no, not so much. Huh?
Admittedly, it hits a little close to home. I mean, for those who haven't watched it, it's about a startup in the Bay Area, and it's in San Francisco and all stuff like that. But oh man, it is just like I took for a moment. I'd be like, are we like that? No, we're not like that. And so it's like it's really bad.
You know,
So.
to directly, well, maybe not directly, but yeah, there we go. Betas. I still have to watch it.
Oh, it's so cliche.
Oh yeah, it really is.
Thing.
But before we move on to the next story, just as an Amazon Prime subscriber, the reason I get a little kind of not upset, but just kind of a little ticked off at some of the things that Amazon does in this regard, because you're a paying subscriber and you're paying partially for this service, and it's not technically impossible to get access to this content from any Android device. Amazon just limits it and makes it so that you can't have it. So as a paying subscriber, that still doesn't matter. I still have to buy one of their devices if I really want to do this. And I just personally don't think that's a great way to go, because I'm still paying for the service. Give it to me. That's all.
Yep.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I'm an Amazon Prime subscriber, and I actually love Amazon. I mean, I buy stuff from there every single day. But I'm just like you. I mean, I never really use Amazon Prime Video. I used to use it a little bit whenever they had the app for Google TV, or you could watch it through the Chrome browser. But now I've kind of switched over all my TVs to Chromecast.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's Netflix kind of all the way, or YouTube here and there. But I'm also kind of annoyed that I don't have easy access to that library of content.
Yeah. Well, I guess we will see. Let's see here. Speaking of lower cost devices, maybe this is lower than below 300, but it still qualifies as below 300. The race to the bottom might be getting more interesting, as Motorola's CEO, Dennis Woodside, actually told Trusted Reviews that the Moto G's $179 unsubsidized price tag is still too steep for much of the world, which you'd be right. He said, why can't these devices be $50? There's no reason that can't happen, so we're going to push that. So not necessarily saying that, yes, you're going to see a $50 device sometime soon, but it kind of gives you a sense of where Motorola's head is at and where they're going, what direction they're going. He continued to say about high-end devices, today you have colors and the beginning of materials, but you don't have screen size and you don't have functionality. And we're going to bring all that to you in the next year or so. So that'll be kind of the extension of the Moto Maker thing, where not only can you design the color of the body of the device or what materials it's made of, but also potentially, change your screen size and all that other kind of stuff. Hopefully memory, and well, I guess you can do memory right now, but so.
I mean, this is completely in line with Google's whole sort of Android's going to get the next billion people online, right? Like low cost devices are part of that. And so you can see some, forgive me for saying this word, synergy between Google and Motorola. Like Motorola is a Google company, and that's a good thing. And and the customization thing, that's interesting. Like customizing your screen size, that sort of dovetails a little bit with those projects. And the name escapes me right now, but the kind of build your own smartphone, snap together the pieces.
Aura.
Aura.
Yeah.
Aura, that's right. Right.
Love
So it sounds like, Moto Maker is going to become like the consumer version of that versus the tinkerer's version of that, where you can say, I like the screen size or whatever. So it's interesting.
Well, over in Samsung, they're not ones to be left behind. Some unnamed Samsung officials let it slip that the company's working on their own smart glasses, tentatively named, and yep, you guessed it, Galaxy Glass. These smart glasses would be able to let you tether to your smartphone, manage calls and music, and do other things similar to Google Glass. I saw a couple of if you scroll down further in that article, there's like a kind of a schematic version of it, and you see it's got little headphones and that sort of thing. Whether or not this is real or not, who knows? But knowing Samsung, I'm not surprised that they're working on this, and maybe it will come out in September at the trade show in Berlin, the IFA trade show. But I'm not surprised by it at all. And $5 says it's going to be tied into their dumb app store and tied to their dumb watch and be something that I won't want to use. So
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah,
Well, here's the
seriously.
thing, here's the
No
thing.
mixed words.
do they get access to the Google Glass patents now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We don't. That's the thing. We really don't know. We don't know the depth of that patent cross licensing patent agreement.
Stupid app store.
Potentially. Yeah.
How funny was this when you saw it, though? I mean, really? Like, of course they're doing it. Of course they are.
Of course. I mean,
Yeah.
Google, I think I said this yesterday on Tech News Today when we were talking about this, but Google beat everyone else to the wearable on your face thing. They announced it almost 2 years ago at this point, and they showed it off, and that got a lot of companies thinking about, okay, well, if a company like Google is behind this, and if this happens to be the next big thing, we don't want to be flat-footed when it becomes a big deal and we don't have one. So of course we're going to see so many more of these. Everybody's working on one right now, because if it becomes a big deal, you don't want to have wasted 2 years waiting for it to become a big deal. So Samsung, absolutely. Samsung, yes. Of course they're working on this.
In the game. Well, speaking of glass, if you plunk down the $1,500 for glass, but also want some stylish frames to go along with it, add another $225 to that figure. Google's Titanium collection, which they just announced, offers 4 frames to choose from, all designed in-house. Existing glass users can detach the glass unit from the existing frames, the default frames that ship with glass, and screw them into the new frames to keeping the electronics intact. The frames are made of titanium, of course, and they won't fit the head unless glass is actually attached, which is interesting. No prescription lenses are included, but one could add them with a visit to an optometrist. Speaking of that, taking it a step further, Google struck a deal with VSP, which is the biggest optical health provider in the U.S., which means subsidized lenses and frames for glass. So for people who wear glasses in order to see versus get their text messages in their face, they're in luck. They'll be able to get prescription lenses.
I have VSP coverage, and I have a pair of Google Glass. I can't believe I'm actually considering do I want to do this? What I don't know, though, is when you get prescription lenses and the glass is on the outside of your lenses, does that kind of obscure your view of the display in any way?
That's a good question. I mean, it can't, right? It would. I mean, if your view of the display is obscured, it's rendered useless. So
Right.
they had to have figured out a way around that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did any of these lenses, any of these frames look?
I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. Most glasses.
They're nice.
I
They're
had a friend.
nice,
I had a friend IM me today as soon as this came out, going, "Oh my god, I want these," and knew the designer of the game of one of the frames and everything, and was super excited for it.
See, that one that one that you just showed just kind of looked lopsided to me. Like that,
Yeah,
and I think it's that
they're way
particular frame.
better. They're better than the default, but they still look cyborgy
Well,
to me.
yeah. I mean, they have a big battery pack and a camera and lens on them. You could only dress it up so much. Taylor, you wear glasses. Is this pulling you over to the glass side?
Yeah, as an early adopter and a huge geek and a fan of Android and someone who wears glasses, you think this would be appealing to me, but I've had multiple opportunities to buy glass, and I just haven't felt the need to go out and get them yet.
Yeah.
And I think at this stage, it doesn't really change my mind. I think the concept of glass and where it's going and where it'll be in a couple of years is awesome. And, probably in the next 2 years, I will buy a pair. But at the stage where we are at now, there's no urge in me to go order these.
Yeah. Yeah, they look better. They don't look like the next kind of major push, which I think is what people I think what people are responding to with these is great. It's not that weird thing that you would never have worn before Google Glass. Now it actually mimics like a pair of glasses that I may wear. But like you said, you're still wearing this gigantic piece of technology on the side and in the front, and you can only dress it up so much to shield yourself from that.
And we've seen where it's going. I mean, there's been patents online where they show them, actually integrating the display into the lenses or whatever they're going to do next.
Like the Terminator.
Yeah, like the Terminator. So I think that's probably what's more appealing to me. Whenever it's not just so obvious that I have this Google product strapped to my face, there's Terminator. That's probably when I'll be more motivated to go out and get a pair.
Yeah, absolutely. When it's entirely embedded into the thing you're already wearing, or you would already wear anyway. So, but I'm interested. I didn't realize before this the modular kind of approach of glass that it was so easily removable from the frame. Just because I've never looked into it, but I guess there's a single screw that you unscrew and it detaches entirely. And with these frames, it fits in. It's not like a janky fit or anything. It's just obviously it's meant to fit in there, but that's neat.
For that price, it should fit perfectly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely agree. Let's take a quick moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode, Gazelle. Gazelle's perfect for All About Android. You all have devices that maybe are collecting dust in your drawer and not using them anymore. What you should do is go to Gazelle.com and see if Gazelle has it in their catalog, because what Gazelle does is actually pretty cool. They're going to give you cash for your old device. If you're thinking about getting a new iPad, an Android tablet, if you have been an iPhone user and now you're considering switching to Android or vice versa, this is the perfect way for you to kind of dip your toes in the water, see what you can get for that device that you don't want anymore, and lock in a price. Their offer is actually good for 30 days. So you could be considering a switch, go in, put your device in there. It's going to give you that offer, and you can lock that in. So you have the next 30 days to kind of pull the trigger on the other side and get your replacement device. They'll send you a box, give you free shipping on the way back to them, and they just make the whole process super easy. You get paid quickly by check, PayPal, or you can actually get an extra 5% with an Amazon gift card. It's a risk-free offer, and like I said, free shipping. It's GAZELLE.com. And they make the whole process just super simple. Payment is fast. It's risk-free. Offers are good for 30 days, like I said. They'll also actually wipe your data for free. I would generally recommend to anyone, if you're selling your device or getting rid of your device, take that into your own hands and wipe your data. But if you don't do that, they'll do it. They'll take care of you and make sure that data doesn't stay on the device, and they'll get rid of it the right way. It's trustworthy, and Gazelle has actually paid more than $100 million to over 700,000 customers, and that's because it's easy, and they make the process fast and no hassles. So I would recommend going to Gazelle.com, GAZELLE. Take a look at what your iPhone, your Android device, your Nexus tablet, whatever you happen to have, what is it worth? Take a minute, go to Gazelle.com to find out, and do it now, because your device may lose value the longer you wait. We thank Gazelle for their continued support of All About Android and the Twit Network. Thank you, Gazelle. All right. You guys didn't know this was going to happen. Let's jump into apps. Oh. Just savor it. Just savor it. Jeff Kosmicki came through once again, seriously, a week later, and gives us a new apps bumper. This dude,
Love it.
He's like working overtime for us, and he's awesome.
Hey, Ron, I think you might be muted.
Yo, Ron is muted.
I think he just lost his voice from
I'm
screaming.
muted. Let's go full screen. Let's do it again.
We might as well.
We have the technology.
See, and you can see all the apps, which he says are easily replaceable if an app goes away. Now pause there.
An icon.
I don't know if you can pause.
Wait. Yeah, can we pause?
Yeah, you can see up at the top left-hand corner. Is it time for AAA?
Well, I also see the to the right of the S. I see the official All About Android game.
Yeah.
Can you back up a little on that, Brian? Is that hard? Can you scroll back a little? Maybe that is hard.
Yeah.
A little more.
Oh, Androidify.
Little
That's
more.
what we're talking about
Little
right
more.
there.
What are you looking for?
Little more. Right there. Why is Google Goggles there?
I don't know. Cause
That app's been dead for years.
has it?
I think so.
I guess.
Hasn't it?
No, I
But
suppose so.
the do text is there. So Jeff,
Way to nitpick, Ron.
Wow.
Super nitpick. Hey, it's full screen. I can really zoom in on it when it's full screen.
To do that. Oh, that's
Right
awesome.
there.
Yeah, there you
Boom,
go.
right
You
by
got
the A.
prime
Love it.
placement next to the A.
prime placement. Yes.
Cool. Oh, I love it. This is fantastic.
Jeff, you continue to amaze me. Thank you for making these awesome bumpers.
Awesome. Awesome.
Seriously.
That's amazing. It's like Christmas where he's spoiling us.
I know.
Yeah.
I know he really was. Yeah, I did not expect to see this in my email inbox this morning, but pretty awesome stuff. So the segment is about apps. Let's talk about apps. What you got, Gina?
Let's talk about it. So we knew that this was coming, but today Google announced that developers can begin to make their Chrome apps run inside Android. This is a developer preview currently running on the Apache Cordova framework, formerly PhoneGap, that allows developers to make native mobile apps using CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. The stuff that makes web pages. Existing Chrome apps can easily be ported over and served up via the Google Play Store, and this even works for Mac, so even the Mac App Store. So Chrome apps, they can launch outside the browser, they can work offline, or they do launch outside the browser, they can work offline, and they have access to APIs not normally available to web apps. So things like easy sign-in via OAuth, payments, push messaging, notifications, rich mobile notifications, really, really cool, really cool stuff. So this is a developer preview of these tools. The idea is you take your Chrome app, you package it up for Google Play, you package it up for the Mac App Store. I assume other platforms are coming, and this is just like a native app, but without having to write a line of Java or C, Objective-C. Very cool. I'm excited about this. For a company like mine, which is very small, but what we want to build iOS and Android apps, like this is a very easy way to make, to build an Android app without having to go through, all the development costs of building it and using native code, especially since these APIs, expose things like rich notifications and in-app payments that regular websites don't.
Yeah, I want to see how this integrates and how it works. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, do you have to run this within how do you launch it? Do you just launch it like a normal app and Android's going to know how to process it? And
according to this is a straight APK. You upload it to the Play Store. You get it like any other app. And this is what they're promising, that it will be indistinguishable from any other app. So it runs like any other app. My question is, are we gonna start downloading apps and being like, oh, this is a this is a Chrome app that they just packaged up? Are you gonna be able to tell? But this is cool. I like this a lot. I'm gonna play around with this because I'm interested to see how limited or not limited, or if there are any telltale signs, or if it's slow, or any of that stuff.
Yeah, or just not. The design capabilities are less than what you would get if you design natively, or I don't know. Taylor, what do you think about this? Are you going to be looking forward to the day where you can install a number of Chrome apps on your device?
As a user, I don't really care about this, but I have friends, even my brother who's a web developer. And I think it's really cool for them. I mean, it kind of lowers the barrier to get into the Play Store and the App Store. You can kind of already do things like this, hack around. Like Chrome Beta had a feature where if you developed your application, you could pin it to the desktop, or you'd get a little icon and you could launch it into a web view where it kind of functioned like a native app. So developers have already kind of been able to do some hacky things like this, but this opens up the door to new APIs and new other things for that. But as a user, I don't really care. Wake me whenever I can run Android apps on Chrome OS or in Chrome.
That would
That's
be
a good point. As a
interesting.
users shouldn't have to even know about this, right? Like if they did this well, a user's not gonna be able to say like, oh, this is a Chrome app I'm running, right? Like, they're just gonna be like, this is an Android app.
Yeah,
It almost feels like when Mac rolled out the Mac apps in the Mac App Store on OS X, and we're all like, what does this mean? And all that sort of stuff. And that has been seamless. So if this can be as seamless as then I think that it'll be interesting.
on the other side, for some reason, and I know this is probably unfounded, it reminds me of the Adobe Air kind of situation on Android, where it was like, okay, if you got Adobe Air installed, then you can run these Adobe Air apps on your Android device, and they always had performance issues and they were slow, and it just kind of got to the point, like at first I was excited to see what the potential was, and eventually it was like, oh, it's one of those. Okay, I'm not gonna run this. But I mean, this is a web app running inside Chrome essentially. So potentially there's no reason for it to experience slowdowns or be bogged down in that regard. I guess it just depends on how well it's designed.
Are there? You're using a Pixel. Are there any Chrome apps that you're like, oh man, I wish I had this on my Mac?
Yeah, no. I mean, nothing specifically. I use a lot of Chrome apps, but like CIRC for my IRC chat during the show, and I mean, I have an IRC that's better than that's more tailor made for the phone. So I don't know. I guess if I ran that and it worked just as well, maybe I'd want to use it. But I'm just my brain is having a hard time understanding why I would opt for one versus the other. But maybe the point is that there wouldn't necessarily be a Chrome app as well as an Android app, or maybe there would. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time computing it, I guess.
I mean, it brings up the normal blurriness between Chrome and Android that we have already, which they haven't merged yet, which I'm expecting is going to happen sometime in the next 2 years. But like, what is a Chrome app versus an Android app? And you can run a Chrome app on Android, but why can't why not vice versa and that sort of thing? So,
yeah.
Right, and this just seems like kind of a temporary bridge, like these kinds of packaging tools. Yeah, feel like a temporary bridge.
Sure. Yep. Well, speaking of development, if you are an aspiring developer, there's a post on Reddit that might be useful to you, actually. There was a user named Santa's Chest Hairs. Don't judge him or her for their username. They set a goal in 2013 to develop an Android app by year's end with no more than little visual basic knowledge. When taking up that challenge, that user actually posted a very useful step-by-step process that illustrates how to emulate what they did. And it's kind of step-by-step, walks you through, but it doesn't bog down in the details, has links to things that give you more kind of visual information, YouTube videos that explain what each step of the way they did and how they got to, the final step, which is that, hey, here's the app and it's up in the Play Store. So we definitely have a lot of aspiring developers that follow the show. This might be one great way to kind of dip your toes in the water and get started. So that's on Reddit. Check the show notes at twit.tv/AAA and you'll find all of those notes there.
So this is pretty cool. We're talking about Google Glass earlier and what you could potentially do with it. And Google releases mini games, which is they put together a compilation showing off what you could do on Google Glass in the game sphere. And this is actually really interesting. They showed off 5 different kind of interfaces or games that you could play with, from tennis to shape splitter to balance, clay shooter, and matcher, which is really cool. So yeah, this has been the thing that we talked about. Like, how can you play games on Google Glass? And this shows it. I mean, I would love a video of the person doing this to see what they look like.
I know, right? Standing out of the middle of the room, swiping their hands.
You're just standing there looking.
Just like, oh.
Would you rather play an augmented reality game though, or a virtual reality game?
That's a really great question. I mean, obviously, this is just an example of, some ways to get started, and the samples are very simple.
Very simple.
It's like, here's an object. Swipe your hand to split it into pieces or whatever.
Shape Splitter was basically, what is that game? Fruit Ninja?
Fruit Ninja.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's a good point, Taylor, because this is using the display on your glass as if you're looking at your smartphone or your TV to play a game, right? So it's kind of like using this new technology to play it in a way that you play older technology, versus like taking that experience, that technology, and playing a new type of game with it. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to answer that question, Taylor.
I mean, they really approach Google Glass as a interface for a game, like you said, whether it's like a phone or a Game Boy kind of thing instead of Glass, as opposed to showing off what you can use with Glass in different types of games, which I think kind of what you're talking about. Yeah, but still neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see more games. I want to see games on Glass and see what developers kind of come up with, and then also on Chromecast, especially after last week.
Yeah.
See what people can do with Chromecast and gaming. All right, let's get to reviewing some apps in the Android arena.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
So last week, episode 145, we had 4 apps in the arena, and let's see who won. Dang, that was a really close race.
Again.
LinksFit came in first. Yeah, this is like evenly split.
Wow, with
LinksFit.
2 votes.
Awesome stuff for the LinksFit team, 27%. Pedometer, that was mine, second place at 26%. Quicker, was that you, Ron? No, that was Gina. No, that's right. That was Gina. 24%. And Mumble, fourth place at 22%.
Wacky.
Yeah, it's a super close race. So that means, Ron, you are first. Take it away.
First. So for those of you watching the show live, you might the folks in the chat room caught that I almost did a game that's already been in the show. So that was a first. So I quickly I called an audible early before the show and switched to another app that I've been using since it came out last week. We talked about it a little bit on the show last week. I think we did. Did we, Jason? Or am I just making that up? I think we did. But either way, big release from the folks behind Beats. The app I'm talking about right now is Beats Music, which is developed by Jimmy Iovine, the guy from Interscope Records, and also behind Beats, which teamed up with Dr. Dre to make headphones that you're familiar with, and HTC has it implemented in their phones. Beats Music is their approach to basically beating or challenging Spotify. And they've teamed up with Trent Reznor, who's the chief creative officer of this company. And I read a great interview with them, or an article about it in Entertainment Weekly, and it sounds like Reznor was really, really passionate about the project. So I downloaded, I checked out the app. Another friend of mine tried it as well, and we kind of had a conversation this weekend where we were talking about it, and he was just raving about it, and that actually made me take a closer look to it. And I really got to give it credit and unfortunately, because I'm not in studio, I can't show you the kind of sign-up process. But the sign-up process takes you through kind of this step-by-step moment where you register your account, and then you tell it what kind of genres of music you like, and then it throws bands at you, and you identify which bands you like, and based off that, it then starts to formulate its recommendations. And so if you go back to the screenshots there, Brian, you can see the first screenshot is just for you. What this does from here is takes you or the bands you've identified that you like and either serves up collections or mixes of those bands or band members, or gives you mixes of bands that have been influenced by that band, or some sort of thematic, bands that are similar to a band that you like, and that sort of thing. And it has been very, very accurate. It's been very, very good. There are some fun, wacky kind of ways to interface your music. The sentence is one of them, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but it was kind of interesting. Basically, it makes you answer a couple of Mad Libs like questions, where, where are you? What do you feel like? Who are you with? And what do you want to do? And then it plays music based off that, which is kind of fun if you're into that sort of thing. But then they have curated music under the next one, under highlights, where they've got folks at Beats who are curating music and suggesting to you good music. And here on this Best of 2013 Indie, they've got one of my favorite bands, Churches, is recommended. That's the Red album there. So that was pretty good. But then the interface is it's well done. It's well designed. I initially played with this on an iOS phone, and then I installed it on my Android phone, and it worked exactly the same. There was no difference or no change up on it. And honestly, unlike, I'm not a big fan of Spotify or Rdio or Pandora in terms of the radio-based kind of approach, because I often find that the recommendations really aren't that accurate, or they play kind of cliche songs, or they play songs I don't like or bands I don't like. I got to give Beats credit. Not only based off the stuff I gave, the information I gave it to, it suggested under Just For You a lot of really accurate stuff. And then when I played those radio stations, I found myself not skipping many songs. I found myself enjoying them. So it's early. It's right out of the gate. We'll see what they're going to do, but they're going for it. Now the app is free and you can try it for 7 days. After that, it's a subscription-based service, which is $9.99 a month, which is standard, similar to Spotify or RDO. If you're a big music fan, I would say check it out because it really is giving Spotify a run for its money. Also, if you're an AT&T user, you get a free trial of 3 months, which is kind of a neat little deal there for AT&T customers. So there it is from Trent Reznor and Jimmy Iovine and the folks at Beats Music, and it really impressed me. So,
is it going to replace All Access for you?
The problem with All Access is that it's all my music.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, I do find myself wanting that radio station kind of experience. And that's been my big criticism of All Access is that I can't stand the radio aspect of it. Like I'd much rather manage my playlists and do my this is my library. But for Beats, I'm going to give Beats a shot. I am signing up for the $9.99 a month for now. And I'm going to give it a shot for the radio station experience and see if it rivals it. So.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, cool. So that's Beats Music. Check that out at the Play Store. And that is, the app is free, but I guess it's
the
free
app is
for 7
free.
days.
So
right?
you get it for 7 days at least. At minimum, you'll get it for 7 days for free. So give it a shot.
Cool.
And then vote for me.
That's all he asks.
That's all I ask.
Seriously, Ron needs a win.
It's been a rough couple of weeks. And with this lineup of other apps, I don't know if this is going to pull it off or not. So.
We'll see. Gino, what do you have? I'll try and show it off while you talk about it.
All right, cool. So my pick this week is Stack Exchange. This is the official Stack Exchange app. So Stack Exchange is a collection of Q&A, question and answer sites that has been around forever. If you're a programmer, you're familiar with Stack Overflow, which is the programming Q&A site from Stack Exchange. So this is the official Android app from Stack Exchange. It's free and it's awesome. And I should say, first off, just full disclosure, my co-founder is on the board of Stack Exchange. They're a fantastic company based here in New York City. They're my friends. So just wanted to put that out there.
I call foul.
Is that not allowed?
No,
I wasn't
kidding.
sure what the rules are about that.
I'm just campaigning. I'm just. I know.
Okay.
So
You're just campaigning. Okay,
with
fine.
limited development I do, I cannot live without Stack Exchange and Stack Overflow. So this is a good one. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing about Stack Exchange. It's been around forever, and the content on the site, particularly technical topics. Now they have photography and writing and cooking. They have non-technical topics, but technical topics, it really cannot be beat. There's tons of content there. So unlike a new entry, into the Q&A space like Jelly, which is finding its legs and figuring out Stack Exchange has all the content. This app just gives you access to it. So Jason's showing off the app. When you launch the app, one thing that I really like about it, you do not have to log in to use it. You can go look, browse, search all the content without logging in. And in fact, I have answered and posted very few questions to Stack Overflow, but I spend a ton of time on it because someone has already asked and answered the thing that I'm wondering. But so if you log in, or if you start the app and you decide not to log in, the default view is just kind of a feed of hot questions from across all the sites. But if you do log in, and you can do so using your Google account, which is just a couple of taps, you don't have to go create a password. You can add in the side panel that you can activate from the hamburger menu, like the sites that you like the most. So there's an Android enthusiasts Stack Exchange site, which would be very relevant to everyone watching this show, which is quite active. And basically any question that you have about Android, you could post here, and you get really high quality answers. So you can browse and you can search, you can vote up and down answers, you can leave comments on questions. The app for its first release is in pretty good shape. Some of the text is a little small on comments and things, but for the most part, it's all of Stack's content, but easily available. And you can add your favorite sites that you visit a lot. I visit Overflow a lot into the sidebar if you're logged in on the site. And that's it. Stack's amazing. It's one of those, it's like it's a Wikipedia level sort of resource for me. I don't even think about how much I go there anymore. But when I saw that their app came out, I was really thrilled.
It's funny that you said. I often say to my developer, like on a daily basis, we can't be the only ones who have run into this problem.
Yes.
And I've yet to find a situation where we are. So normally it's Stack Exchange that proves that. So Stack Overflow. So
there's something humbling about realizing that you are not a special snowflake, and the problem that you're having, 10,000 other people have had before, have discussed it at length, have come up with the right solution, and like Stack is the place that you find those people, those answers and those questions. Particularly, like I said, tech topics. I find the other topics are maybe not as active as I mean, it started off as a tech Q&A, but for this audience, that totally works. But yeah, it's amazing the amount of amazing content and knowledgeable folks that are on the site. So yeah, that's Stack Exchange, and it is free.
Awesome and well designed. Looks great.
Yeah. All the sort of modern Android design conventions, which is really nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Excellent stuff. So that's Stack Exchange. Check that out. And Taylor, I will go ahead and show off your app if you want to talk about it. Hopefully, I can do it justice here.
Sure. Okay, so this week in honor of the Super Bowl, I have picked THX TuneUp, which it's been available on iOS for a while, but it just landed on Android this week. This is an application that allows you to configure and calibrate your TV and also your sound system. The cool thing about this app is you actually have to connect it to your TV using through HDMI. Depending on what device you have, you might have to use a MHL adapter or the SlimPort adapter. It also it's unofficially supported, but if you have a Miracast adapter, you can do it wirelessly. So this helps you adjust things like the aspect ratio, brightness, contrast, color, tint, and it actually uses your device's rear-facing camera to set the color and tint with its own built-in color filter. In addition to all the video stuff, like I said, you can make audio adjustments. It will test all your speakers, make sure everything is plugged in correctly, and that everything is placed correctly. About the only bad thing I can say about this app is the device support. Currently, it's limited to a handful of devices. It works with a couple of HTC devices, the 1 Max, 1X, 1X Plus. It does work with most of the Nexus devices, the 4, 5, 7, and the 10, not the old Nexus 7. Then it also works with Galaxy S4 and the Note 3. Right now, the good thing is this application is free. It's going to be free until, I think, Monday. So if you're hosting a Super Bowl party this weekend or just watching Super Bowl at home, you might want to give this a try and see how it does. I've already seen a lot of people in the comments request, that they add Chromecast support to this thing, which I think would be an awesome feature. Just because this is during a promo period and they are going to eventually make it a paid app, I think that Chromecast support is definitely something in the pipeline. Just the fact that it works with, some Miracast adapters right now tells me, that it's technically feasible. In fact, the iOS version works with Apple's AirPlay. So I think going forward, you're going to see Chromecast device. But if you want to get this before it goes paid, go ahead, go to Google Play and download this guy right now.
Awesome. And I think it's important to note that, Brian, turn up the volume.
Mandatory.
Yeah, the size of the app, I'll mention, the size of the app's kind of rather large. It's 119 megs, but that's because they include a lot of content so you can show off your sound system. So it does have that THX audio clip, but there's also some cool high-definition video to show off on your TV.
Yeah.
This is really cool because the old Star Wars DVDs used to have that THX optimizer on it. Do you remember? Like it was a hidden point in the menu that you could go find, and they stopped doing that for some reason.
Even I've seen like some new Pixar DVDs or Blu-rays. They have that feature hidden somewhere in the menu. But this is a cool thing that anyone can get on their phone.
Yeah.
You always have access to that sound. And believe me, there are times in my life where I'm walking around and what I need right now is that sound. That sound will be the perfect punctuation to whatever it happens to be at that given moment. So it's good. I will leave this on there if not for anything else for that. But that's awesome. It sounds like it's and looks like a very useful app. I wish I could like hook it up to something and channel it through and see it in the works there. So maybe when I get a new TV, I'll be able to do that. So that's THX TuneUp, and free right now. It sounds like it's probably going to go paid at some point in the future. So get it now. And finally, mine is a music making app. If you're a musician, none of that matters because you don't need to be a musician to play this. So basically, this is called Soundfield's Winter. It's 99 cents, and it's a relatively simple app for the most part. It gives you access to this beautiful thing that's going on right now. Essentially, you have multiple tracks and multiple synths, right? So it plays the song, and you can select a different synth, and basically there is no wrong note, essentially. You can go all over the screen and play your little lead breaks or whatever, and the way that they've scaled the song and scaled the notes and everything, you're not going to play a wrong note. Yeah, it's just kind of fun. There's really not a whole lot to it other than that.
It's nice.
I don't know.
I like it.
You kind of get lost in it after a while.
It's very zen.
Yeah, it's dreamy, I guess. This one. So there's all these different sounds you can just kind of play with it. Thank you for the extreme close-up. I appreciate that. Gets everybody in the mood. It's called Soundfield's Winter. It's 99 cents. Pretty much what I've shown you is exactly what it does. It has a few different tracks and everything and different synths. And yeah, it's kind of one of those things that like if you're bored or you need to chill out a little bit, go ahead and load Soundfield's Winter. Chill out.
So it just makes it sound like it sounds good no matter what.
You can't play a wrong note.
Where or how you put your finger on it. Like it
Pretty
just
much.
sounds like something good. I like it.
Yeah, you select your synth sound, and it kind of gives you a little bit of that kind of graphic show as well. But yeah, pretty much anywhere you tap, you're gonna play a note that works with the song that's playing at that moment. And actually, I should just say that Soundfield's Winter is developed by Alexander Zolotov. I featured his app a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I think it was a Pixie Tracker. It was an 8-bit tracker. Maybe it was Pixie Tracker 1-bit. That's what it was. And Alexander just creates really interesting kind of synth-based and music production-based apps for Android. And I feel like they're lacking on the Play Store. Android, just as a platform, isn't nearly as friendly for musicians as something like the iPad and the iOS platform is. I really wish that would change. There's technical reasons why that is the case. I hope at some point that Google irons that out, because it would be great to make more music on Android the way you can on iOS. But in the meantime, you have this. It's pretty darn simple. You can't make a wrong note with Soundfield's Winter, and it's just kind of a zen experience to sit down and kind of plunk away on a tune by yourself. So there you go. It's Soundfield's Winter, 99 cents. And if you would like to vote for your favorite app from this week, you can. You have a voice in letting everybody else know what was your favorite, I guess. AAApoll.com/146. That's AAApoll.com/146. And vote. Although that's an old... Did it point there just now? Oh, you opened it up before the show. Refresh the AAApoll.com/146, and it directs to a new straw poll because Ron last minute changed the app. But I got it all fixed. So everybody, if you're going to AAApoll.com/146, you'll get to the right one. Yeah.
There it is.
Results. Got to see.
I gotta tell you, man. I think THX TuneUp or Stack Exchange. Those are my predictions.
Yeah.
No offense, Soundfield's Winter.
No offense taken. Says Soundfield's Winter.
As Beats is losing.
It does appear that your prediction is, at least in the early returns, is holding up. THX TuneUp is leading, though, Stack Exchange by 1 vote. We'll see where this turns out, where this ends up. That is it for this week's episode of All About Android. Taylor Wimberly, it's been a pleasure having you on board today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for. I know you've been inviting me for a while, but thanks for letting me come on.
No, absolutely. We're all busy people, and I know you've had a lot of things going on. In fact, this is kind of your opportunity to tell people where they can find your work, basically where they can find you online and follow you.
Yeah, I'm like Jason said, I'm on Google Plus, google.com/plus Taylor Wimberly. I'm also on Twitter at Wimbet. Don't really have anything else to publicly plug right now. But if you're giving me the opportunity, I'll plug. My brother works for a company called thezebra.com. It's a cool startup. Go check it out. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. Just go to thezebra.
Oh, I'm scared. I'm scared. Should I be scared?
No, it's very family friendly. No, The Zebra. You're looking at the wrong site.
Let's see. All right. Fine. Yeah, no, it keeps. Oh.
There you go.
There we go.
Oh, that's a good looking site.
There we go. Yeah, well designed. Excellent. That's thezebra.com. And what we'll have to do is we'll have to bring you back so that if there is something that you want to unveil at some point, let me know. We'll have you back on and you can unveil it.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
Cool. Right on. Gino, what you got going on? How's ThinkUp going?
ThinkUp's going well. Yeah, you can see everything I'm up to at my site, ginatrapani.org. My day job is running my company, ThinkUp, thinkup.com, which is still in limited preview, but we're going to open up new user signups in the next couple of weeks. So that will be very, very exciting. You can pop your email address into thinkup.com's front page there if you want to find out as soon as it happens. But when I'm not working on ThinkUp, I'm doing this show here on Twit, and I also co-host This Week in Google on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. So you should come on by and watch the show tomorrow with me and Jeff and Leo talking all things Google and some Android.
You know what I love about ThinkUp? I love seeing how many more people like I have one on mine right now. It was Kevin Tofel's tweet a few days ago about the $100 off the Moto X deal, and I retweeted it. And I love the stat that it gives you. 8,000 some odd more people saw that tweet thanks to Jason. It just makes me feel kind of way more influential than I possibly could be.
Well, good. That's the goal.
I know. It's interesting insights that you just never think of. And you're like, wow, 8,000 people saw that just by me clicking the retweet button. That is really interesting.
You want to know what's even more depressing is that, not depressing, but more interesting, maybe depressing, is I'm looking at my ThinkUp and it says ThinkUp captured 3,400 tweets by @RonXO. That's over 14 hours and 10 minutes of RonXO's life.
Thanks, ThinkUp.
Thanks, Gina. Thanks for that.
No, it's good. It's time well spent. We're using our powers for good. It's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah.
You're investing yourself into the platform. The platform thanks you.
I do like it's starting to. I'm noticing as I'm checking it every day. I'm noticing that it's pulling in archival tweets. Like on this day, this is my most popular update from a year ago.
Yeah, totally.
Which is very cool.
That's really cool. It's interesting. It's a good way to discover past tweets that you tweet and you forget about it. And
it gave me double the favorites for a tweet, and this one hit a nerve this week. My fantastic tweet from a bar on Saturday night. I had another good tweet this weekend, and now I use ThinkUp to confirm that I'm tweeting well. So.
That you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Evil plan is clearly working.
Yes.
Although it is pointing out that my tweets contain the words I, me, my, or myself 71 times.
Oh boy.
49 more times than the past week. All right, I'm sorry. I did that.
Only 29 times for me, Ron.
I know. Well, there's a lot about me.
Man.
That's the insight that we get the most feedback about. It's very funny.
No kidding.
It's no judgment.
No kidding. Well, love it. ThinkUp's fantastic, and it's really exciting that you're going to open it up to the public here soon, because I think people are going to jump on board.
Thank you.
Cool stuff. Ron, what about you, sir?
So yes, you can go to my ThinkUp now. See, let's just talk about me. No, go to about.me/RonXO. You can find links to me on Google Plus, on Facebook, on Twitter. I'm on Google Plus at Google/plus Ron Richards. Yeah, that's what it is. It's on there. It's right there.
Google.com/plus Ron Richards.
Go back. Go to my good tweet. Go scroll down. It's fantastic. It's which one? It's the one from 2 days ago. The scene in a bar.
We're waiting, Ron.
There it is.
We really.
Scene, crowded bar, night, girl. I'm sorry if I'm on your way. I'm standing in an awkward spot. Me, we all are. It's a metaphor. I actually said that to a girl in a bar on Saturday, and she looked at me like I was crazy. So there you go.
Wow.
More
Nerd.
like that on my Twitter. So there you go.
Favorite.
Yep.
I'm favoriting that right now.
That random girl learned so much about you in but 2 sentences.
Yep. Yeah.
2 short sentences. Awesome stuff.
Later on that night, I saw her making out with some dude across the bar who she just bumped into leaving the bathroom. So there you go.
There you go.
Yep.
That's life. And Brian, our fantastic technical director, thank you for jumping through hoops covered in fire. Where can people find your work?
Thanks, Jason. You can find me at brianwithayBurnett.com, but that just goes to my Google Plus page, which is +Brian Burnett, and I'm on Twitter at cranky_hippo. But you can also find me on BYB doing reviews, do stuff on Know How. And then today I did this review. So if you're into Gundams and robots, you can check that out on our BYB channel. So
it sounds like a dating profile. If you're into Gundam and robots, then
long walks on the beach. You know what, Ron? It's a metaphor. Don't worry about it.
Well done.
I think we might have a show title. All right. Well, that's fantastic. And the review is great, by the way.
Oh, thanks,
Jason. Not your typical review, but it was well done. You can find me at about.me/Jason Howell on Google+. I am Jason Howell there, and my music can be found at yellowgoldmusic.com. That is it for this week's episode of All About Android. Thank you for joining us once again. You can always leave us a voicemail and be a part of the show. It's 347-SHOW-AAA. You can also leave us an email if you prefer. That's aaa@twit.tv, or a video mail there as well. We're on Twitter. We are at Android Show. We're on Google+. Search for All About Android. We're all over the map. Reddit. twitaaa.reddit.com. I do look there when I'm putting together the show notes to make sure that I'm not missing a big story that our community really likes. So go there and vote stories up, vote them down, whatever. Show notes and past episodes at twit.tv/AAA. And finally, you can catch us live every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, live.twit.tv. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week on another episode of All About Android.